What's up, homies? Welcome to our new no-nonsense Varesa guide. We got this idea because my fiance said that she didn't like watching a lot of the guides because they took too long and they just had too much information. So we're going to go over exactly what you need to know to build Varesa and nothing else. Let's not waste any time. Starting off with her talent priority, you want to level her normal attacks first, her burst second, and then her elemental skill. A good goal to shoot for would be 10, 8, 10. And if you want to be conservative, you could do 9, 6, 8. But you get the gist. Her normals are her most important talent, her burst is her second most important talent, and her skill is her least important talent. Her burst is interesting because there's two different versions. She has one that costs 30 energy and one that costs 70 energy. And you can use her special 30 cost burst during her rotation, which we'll go over right now. Fun fact about Varesa, even outside of her elemental skill mode, she runs extremely fast, but she also uses a lot of stamina, so be careful. But yeah, she runs super fast and her booty bounces are adorable. So let's go over her basic rotation. If you can remember this, then you're about 90% of the way there. You do a skill, then a normal attack that is technically considered a charged attack, and then a plunge. If you play on mouse and keyboard, it goes like this. Don't die. So skill, normal attack, plunge. Skill, normal attack that's technically a charge attack, and plunge. And then you can use her special 30 energy cost burst. Let's go over this one more time, this time on our cryo friend for good measure. So skill, charged attack, plunge, skill, charged attack, plunge, then 30 energy cost burst. If you can remember that, you are like 90% of the way there, my friends. Now we'll talk about artifacts with no fluff. You have two options, Obsidian Codex and Long Night's Oath. They are both extremely similar in power level, and Obsidian Codex is overpowered because it gives 40% crit rate, which when you're trying to build a DPS just makes it really easy. However, her signature set gives 100% plunge damage bonus, which is also crazy. So if you already have a good obsidian set, then you might as well just use that. And I'd only really recommend farming her signature set if you plan on pulling for Skirk, because both of the artifacts in that domain are super niche. As far as stats, she's built like almost all attack scaling DPSs. You want to go attack, electro, crit. And if you're using Obsidian Codex, you'll most likely want to go crit damage. You do want a little bit of ER on Varesa. I'd say anywhere, depending on what team you're using, a few substat rolls should be fine. In the Abyss, I have 120% and I haven't found any ER issues at all. Moving on to weapon options, her signature weapon, as always, is going to be her best in slot, but this time it's by an extremely obnoxiously large margin. However, you don't need it for her to be overpowered. 90% of the testing I did with an R5 Widsith, and she performed extremely well. So her best weapon is Vivid Notions. Then you have options like Lost Prayers, Kagura's, other 5-star stat sticks like Tome, Nuvi's weapon, even Crane's Echoing Call, Shan Yun's weapon. You have some options there. But as far as 4 stars, Widsith is going to be your best option, and if you're free to play and you don't have a Widsith, then you can craft Fontaine's weapon, Flowing Purity, and that should work just fine for you. When it comes to Varesa's team options, this is where I probably have the most of my own personal insight. I pulled a Jello Impact, shout out to Jello Impact by the way, and tested her with a bunch of different teams. Normally when I pull a new unit, I put together the best possible team that I can on my account, and that's the team I use. But this time I was like, I want to try her with a bunch of different teams. However, her two best teams on release are going to be this one, a Chevy Overload team with Eon-san Mawika, and then a Shan Yun team, but I don't have Shan Yun, so Jean will have to sub in. I tried her in several different Overload teams. If you don't have Mawika, you can use the Bennett one. I think I actually prefer Bennett in this slot even more than Mawika. I don't know, maybe it's just because I've been using Bennett for a long time. I'm just really used to him. But pretty much You could put anyone in this slot right here. You could put Dea, you could put Zhangling, you could put any pyro character really, but preferably they would apply pyro from off field. That way you can just constantly be doing overloads and not have to worry about Chevy's buffs going in and out. I also tried Varesa in a few different Dendro teams. The aggravate teams were able to clear perfectly fine, but that's probably because the Abyss Blessing is just so catered for Varesa that you could probably use any Varesa team and clear. The aggravate team was okay. It can be useful in some scenarios, like when you're fighting Simon and it disappears and you have to trigger a catalyzed reaction. But the Hyperbloom team, I did not like. To be fair, on my account, I don't have a great Hyperbloom trigger. I put Kuki in there. I kept dying. I did not like it, and I don't recommend it. I was surprised by her Electro Charge teams or just her Hyper Carry teams where you just put the best buffers you can. I did Eonsan and Aurora in this slot, and they performed pretty well. I definitely like them more than the Dendro teams. But in all honesty, I would probably stick to the Chevy teams if you have Chevreuse. You don't have to have her C6. You don't have to have Eonsan C6. You don't have to have Mawika. I know those are the most meta things, but this is a no-nonsense guide for normies and casuals like myself. I forgot to talk about constellations. Her C1 and C2 are okay, her signature weapon is better. I have this goal, you guys, of reaching the creator experience server on both Genshin and ZZZ, but we're going to need a lot more subscribers and views to make that happen. So if you enjoyed this straight to the point, no nonsense Varesa guide, please consider subscribing. My fiance and I stream 2 to 3 nights a week on Twitch. You should join us since there's 2 of us. One of us is always engaged in chat. We love connecting with you guys. It's always a ton of fun. If you made it all the way to the end of this video, then thank you so much. You are a real OG, and I love you.